I'm here at OSCON and I'm with Joshua McKenty. He is founder of Piston Computing. I'll let him introduce himself and then we'll go from there.
Sounds great. So my name is Joshua McKenty and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Piston Computing. We are an OpenStack company. I was previously the chief architect and technical lead of the NASA Nebula team at NASA Ames Research Center in Moffett Field. And prior to that, I led development teams for many different projects, the Netscape browser so many years ago, et cetera, et cetera. So Piston is building a commercial version of OpenStack focused for large enterprise, private cloud deployments with a specific emphasis on security and performance features. We're very much a software company.
Okay. So can I see Piston with the OpenStack as Red Hat with Linux? And if so, what is unique about your distribution apart from security, and what is the business model for behind it? And if you can give me something about it,
sure.
that'll be good.
I think the comparison to Red Hat is although very common, it's probably very appropriate. You can see Piston, and bear in mind we haven't launched the product yet. That's coming later this year. But any of the sort of commercial OpenStack distributions, the announced Project Olympus from Citrix or ours, are we're really differentiating on the class of customer that we serve and the specific requirements for that customer. So we really look at OpenStack as kind of a game changer for how they think about infrastructure and IT, and we've tried to address the totality of that experience. You know, the reference architectures, obviously, what services are deployed where, how they're managed, how they're metered, how they're monitored, integration with existing enterprise systems. And I think that's really one place where we really do differ from most other offerings, in that we're not looking to replace a lot of existing systems that the enterprise use, either on management or on monitoring or even back office, where we're integrating with their existing enterprise tools.
So does it mean you're going to add professional services around it, and is that your
we're not a
business
professional
model?
services company. No, we're definitely a product company. So this is more like the Red Hat model of a subscription service for updates and support. A certain amount of professional services, obviously, for integration, although that's a very small part of what we do. And then we have a limited set of commercial modules that we're not contributing to the OpenStack project, mostly around very niche requirements for larger enterprise, some of them around regulatory compliance issues. So, but the vast majority of the development work that we do goes into the OpenStack code base. And we're really, we will sink or swim along with OpenStack. That's who we are.
Okay. So talking about OpenStack, where do you think they are? They are now 1 year old, and what is the progress in the last 1 year? And
We're 1,000 times farther than I thought we would be. Honestly, when we put this deal together with Rackspace when I was still at NASA, we thought maybe we'd have 3 or 4 partners to launch with, and maybe by the end of the year, maybe we have 10, maybe we'd have 12, and we'd sort of have an interesting, medium-sized open source effort that perhaps a couple people would use. We're now, over 1,100 active contributors from 92, 93 companies. HP announced this morning, as did Nebula, so that I guess we're 94 now. Production deployments for major international telecom companies, for cloud service providers, for large enterprise, for small enterprise, for academic institutions, etc. We host a meetup, a hackathon at the Piston office for OpenStack every 2 weeks in San Francisco. In the last meetup, we had folks from Pixar and from Orange, and it's really neat to see what people are doing with this project. That's far beyond what we thought it was going to be for.
I know OpenStack's storage code is mature and ready for production deployment. What about their compute? Is it ready, and are there any production deployments?
This is one of those very ironic things. Nova has been in production since the day OpenStack launched. It was in production at NASA when we announced OpenStack. There's several hundred projects internally using it, including the collaboration with Microsoft and the collaboration with Google. on lunar and Mars data. But it's also been pushed into production now. The definition of production gets great. You know, if you're using it for dev and test, but it's a critical part of your development infrastructure. You've got hundreds or thousands of physical servers. It's a pretty legitimate production deployment. And there are a rapidly increasing number of those deployments as well.
Okay. So like let's say if I'm a service provider and I want to offer a public cloud service based on OpenStack code, will I be able to do it? And if so, how big a scale I can go with it?
Absolutely. The scale, I mean, it's unbounded in the sense that nobody's hit a wall scaling Nova, so we don't know what the wall is. And the nice thing about getting Dell and HP and other hardware vendors into the ecosystem is maybe we will end up with enough eval hardware that we can actually find that theoretical limit. We'll need some from everyone to get to that number, I think. But you could do that today. I mean, I think the challenge for service providers, the piece that is not in OpenStack is the back office integration piece. How do you want to manage accounts? How do you want to manage quotas? How do you want to manage signups and roles and groups? And I know of several companies now in the OpenStack ecosystem who are addressing those issues specifically for service providers. Those are the issues that we're addressing for large enterprise, for private cloud deployments. And they're very different questions when we look at those two sides.
So talking about the ecosystem, large companies like Dell, Cisco, and Citrix and others are contributing to OpenStack because OpenStack fits into their strategy. Yes. What about those ecosystem partners who sort of rely on OpenStack just like you, Piston Computing, and probably develop a business model around it? Can you tell me something about them, and also talk about today's announcement by CTO of NASA about a new company called Nebula? Can you compare and contrast how that fits in with Piston Computing?
Sure. I mean, I think the best comparison to the OpenStack ecosystem is telecommunications, in the sense that every big telecom, their largest customers are always their competitors. And I see this being very true in OpenStack as well. We sort of call it co-opetition. When you're collaborating on an Apache 2 licensed open source code base, it's really hard to say, well, we're competitors. You know, probably Piston's most direct competitor would be Citrix. Citrix comes to the hackathons at our office, and we collaborate on several parts of the code base. Ewan Meller, who heads that dev team, and I sit on the project policy board together. We worked on Zen support together. So it's really hard to say, well, this is a competitor. But you're right, there is definitely a mix of smaller companies, the Mitakuras, the Pistons, although we're not quite as small as we used to be, in the cloud scalings, and then the larger companies of the Intels and the Dells and the Ciscos. What's interesting is that the development teams are not radically out of proportion, and I think this is because I'm actually really not sure why it is, but no one in the ecosystem has 200 or 300 people working on OpenStack. You know, we've probably got the third or fourth largest development team as of last week. And we're still, you know, just over a dozen people in the company as a whole. So most of these teams, even inside Rackspace, is less than 50 people, and that's about enough for any organization to push forward what they need the product to become next.
So talking about Rackspace, is your company a direct competitor to cloud builders?
No, not at all. No, it's ironic. Again, not only in the competitive landscape we're not really competing, but also in the personal landscape, it's all nepotism. Can I say the word nepotism? I mean, the Rackspace Cloud Builders team is essentially the Answer Labs team, minus myself, who's doing Piston, Devin Carlin, who's doing Nebula. Yeah, I think it's all Answer Labs people. We all work together on NASA Nebula. So really, we're all pursuing different roles. Rackspace Cloud Builders is really pushing forward Rackspace as a service provider, and the training and support that the ecosystem needs. They're not building product. They're not out there pushing a software product forward. And in fact, I think there will be very complementary relationships between Piston and Rackspace and most of the rest of the ecosystem. This is similarly true with Nebula. Nebula is, delivering an appliance. it's a hardware play. It's not something that we considered doing. We're really just building out something that addresses the feature requests that we've had from the customers we're working with. And I think Nebula is doing the same thing, and we've been talking to different people, and so we're producing different products.
So one last question: where do you think OpenStack will be 1 year from now? Next OSCON.
Oh, 1 year. Okay, I was going to go 5 years out. Let me say 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
5 years from now, there's no such thing as the personal computer anymore. There's iPhones, there's Android, and there's OpenStack, and that's it. Next year, I think we'll see a lot more of the larger cloud service providers having launched their OpenStack-based services. I know several that are in the funnel. We will see. That's tricky. Most of the folks building large private clouds with OpenStack are not in industries where they want to be cited. If you look at financial services, if you look at the oil and gas industry, they don't want to admit what they're using for infrastructure. So we may not have as many of those success stories as we would like to talk about, but I'm sure we will have an increasing number, the same as the ramp up this spring. I can't imagine the development community getting that much larger. Really, I think it's possible, maybe, but I think the user community and the documentation community is going to continue to expand. I know several people are working on OpenStack books. I think the level of training and support in the professional services ecosystem is evolving, and so it'll become more like where Linux got to, when it's not just, okay, well, that it's something out there that you can download and you can compile and you can use yourself, but really it's something that you could have a major SI come in and help you own and operate. A year from now, I think we're going to be looking back and going, is there anything else in cloud worth talking about?
Thanks, Joshua. Thanks for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks very much.